Hi everybody, welcome to Feature Spark. First off, I'd like to say I'm sorry about the hiatus. I know it's been like a month since I put out a video, but my work schedule has been like pretty crazy. But that's all fixed, so we're going to be back on track. Today we're going to be doing recipes inspired by the TV show Ghost Adventures. So let's get started. Okay, so I have loved Ghost Adventures for a long time now. The first episode I ever saw was Castillo de San Marco, and it was crazy because they're like screaming and they're swearing, and the whole entire reason why I love Ghost Adventures, and this is probably way too much personal information about me that you're probably not going to want to know this, but that's alright. So I started watching it after, so I was engaged for 1.5 years. And my fiance at the time was the biggest, he was the most indecisive person ever. Like, that's the nicest way I can say it without swearing. So, he was the most indecisive person ever. He never wanted to make decisions. He never wanted to do anything for himself. He always wanted someone to do it for him. So, we got engaged in January. I'm not going to say a year because it doesn't really matter. We got engaged in January. I found out I was pregnant in February. I miscarried in March. And then he lost his job in April. And after that, it was just all downhill. Because after he lost his job, I started working like 60 hours a week, thinking if I can just keep up with his bills, we won't be in massive amounts of debt when we move in together and actually get married. Because I was young and naive and stupid. So I was working 60 hours a week trying to keep up with his bills while he was just sitting on his butt at home. So, the relationship ended when he decided to go back to school because his parents would support him if he went back to school. So we broke up. He moved away to go to school, and then after we broke up, I found out he had been seeing this other girl for about 1 year, and that him and her got engaged the day after me and him broke up. So this guy was the most passive guy I'd ever met. And so I started watching it just because I was bored and I had nothing else to do during the day. And Zack was so, like, he had that very dominant, aggressive alpha male attitude, which after being with the other guy for so long was so hot. So hot. You don't even know. So that's why I started watching it, so I can still continue to watch it. And I just think it's great. But, yeah, so that's why I started watching it. Again, way too much personal information, and I apologize. But, yeah, that's why. Now, Melissa, you also watch Ghost Adventures. Why do you watch it?
I watch it because I enjoy being scared most of the time. And despite me always acting as the badass, I'm not afraid of anything. I'm afraid of everything. You guys don't know that. People at work are going to start seeing this shit, and they're going to start trying to scare me. But, yeah, I enjoy being scared. It gets my adrenaline pumping.
Is that fight or flight?
Yep.
Okay, so Zach put up on his Twitter, I don't know how long ago, that his favorite food was soup dumplings. Now, I am not entirely sure if he means dumplings like the biscuit kind like we do here in America, or like wontons where you get like a wonton soup at the Chinese place. So we're just going to do both. So we're going to make the wonton soup. So in this bowl I have a mixture of pork and shrimp, and we're going to add soy sauce, and sesame seed oil, and scallions. Now this is all like super easy to make because like that's it. That's all the ingredients that you need for the film. And then you're just gonna mash it all together. What was the first episode you saw, Melissa?
Oh, God, I don't know. I don't remember. It's been so long. And when I first started watching it, it was in a time in my life that I don't really want to remember.
What was going on? I mean, dude, I just told you this massively personal story. You can tell it.
Alright. So what happened to me So I was with this guy I thought was the love of my life. And I loved his family, and his family loved me. And every Friday we would get together, or I would go to his house after work. We would sit on his couch, his mom would pull the chair up, we'd huddle around the TV, and we'd watch Ghost Adventures every Friday. Because they had recorded episodes, because they have TiVo, and I do not. So we watched it every Friday.
Well, that's alright.
So, that's how I started getting into it. And I tried to repress that because he ended up leaving me for somebody I thought was my best friend. So, I try to repress all those memories as much as humanly possible.
So if you want to hear something similar, but much, much better. So the guy I was engaged to, after we broke up, and I found out that he had been with this other girl, like once we broke up, he lost everything. I mean, you want to hear about karma? He lost everything. He got kicked out of school, he lost his car, he lost his home. Him and her were living at this trailer park together, and they got kicked out of the trailer park. How you get kicked out of a trailer park is beyond me, but this guy was able to accomplish it. So yeah, karma comes around, ladies. So if you get cheated on, just let karma take care of it. Okay, so to make the soup part of it, you saute scallions in sesame seed oil, and then put in 2 32-ounce boxes of chicken, or you can either use chicken stock or chicken bone broth. We've had this conversation about how much I like bone broth. Now, for those of you that don't know, the difference between stock and bone broth is when you make stock, you use the carcass of like a chicken that has already been cooked. With bone broth, you would use the carcass of a chicken that hasn't been cooked. So it has more of the vitamins and nutrients that gets cooked out when you cook the chicken. So which is why it's better for you. All right. So you take your filling. It's probably way too much. You put it on the wonton. And this is just like store-bought wonton wrappers. It's probably way too much. And you can use water, but I'm using eggs to seal it because it's just going to stick better. And you're going to have less of a chance of them coming apart in the soup. And you just pinch it closed. Take all the air out. And then you fold it. Melissa, what's your favorite episode?
Cheese.
Oh, jeez.
I wouldn't know.
Of the ones that you've seen, what's your favorite one?
The ones that I've seen?
Yeah.
Honestly, the doll ones are my favorite.
So why were you complaining about us watching the Haunted Doll episode?
Because I hate dolls. I hate dolls so much. I have a phobia of dolls.
Dollophobia.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know what the hell it's called. I'm afraid of porcelain dolls. Entirely. I can't stand them. They're creepy to me. But they give me the best scare. So any of them that have like dolls in them are pretty much my favorite ones. What about you? What's your favorite?
I have a lot. If you want to talk about like classic episodes, then probably Mansfield is probably absolutely one of my favorites because it's just good and they get a lot of evidence and it's fantastic.
And it's about Ohio.
And it is about Ohio. Like if you want to talk about like the newer ones, I don't know. So I used to watch it all the time, and then I had to get rid of cable because I couldn't afford it anymore, so I haven't watched it in a while, but every once in a while, like I'll download them and watch them.
The struggle is real.
Yeah. But as for like the recent ones, not entirely sure. Okay, so when you have your wontons already, throw them in the pot with this broth. Very gently.
Super gentle.
And then they cook usually for like 15 to 20 minutes until they float.
They all float.
leave. Okay, so the internet also said that one of Zach's favorite foods is beef stew. So we're gonna make beef stew, and then we're gonna put the other kind of dumplings in that. So what you want to do is you're gonna want to coat your beef with flour, and what you want to use like a stewed beef because it's a tougher coat of meat, and it'll soften up while it's cooking, and like a more tender cut of meat would just like fall apart in the stew, so you don't want to do that. And this flour is going to act like a thickening agent later on to thicken the broth to make it more like a stew and less soupy. So I have on high, we're going to add our mirepoix onions, celery, and carrots, and we're gonna let those sweat and get a little bit soft.
What does that mean?
Sweat? It means we're gonna let it take, like, all the juice, all the water from it is gonna come out. That's what sweating is. And it's gonna get translucent. So once the onions, carrots, and celery is done, you're gonna put the beef in there. Up. Then you're going to add either the beef stock or the beef bone broth in this case.
Oh, sure.
Then you're going to put a lid on it and let that cook for about an hour and a half. Just until it thickens up and the beef is done.
Well, the wontons are done. Smells like the stuff you get at the store, so that's spot on. And we let it cool down, that way I'm not...
Missy doesn't, she just shoves it in her face.
Still a little hot, so recommend letting it sit for about 5 minutes more than we did. So about 20 minutes let it sit. It didn't break apart, so we didn't overfill them.
I yelled at her quite a bit because she was overfilling the wontons.
But the filling's good, and it actually tastes like one that you would actually buy at the China One or whatever Chinese store, Chinese restaurant you buy food, your Chinese food from.
9 out of 10?
9 out of 10 for accuracy.
Awesome sauce. Alright, so when the beef stew is done, you're going to put the biscuits in, and this is just like your basic biscuit dough, and you're just going to plop it in there, and then you're going to let it cook for another 10 to 15 minutes until they're done.
No stirring?
Nope, just going to leave them like that. If you stir them, they're going to fall apart, but you want them like clumped up like that. So the beef stew is done, and we're putting it right here in front of a fan to cool down before Melissa eats it. Otherwise she's just going to shove it in her face and burn her mouth again. Go.
Beef stew's cooled down. Got my biscuit in here. Biscuit came out super fluffy. Carrots are good. I can see why this would be one of his favorite dinners if it's this version. I personally like biscuits, so So, I think it's just biscuits. But, all in all, it's a good dinner. I can see myself eating this if I was like sick. 10 out of 10. Ha.
So, Aaron's favorite food, he put up on his Twitter, I think like the other day, is a veggie burger by a brand of brand called Beyond Meat. Me and Melissa are going to try this. And if you're wondering why I'm making 4 instead of 2, it's because this is how I pay Robert. I think I've gone over that before. Once again, we've put Melissa's burger by the fan to let it cool down before she eats it. Because she still didn't learn her lesson. Great.
I put pickles on mine. Because I like pickles on my burgers. And for it being a veggie burger, it tastes almost exactly like a normal burger. It's pretty good. Super simple to make. Didn't take too long at all. Even I could do it. So you can too.